What's the point of this old guitar if it ain't got no strings? Or pouring your heart into a song that you ain't gonna sing. Like having s'mores around the campfire or cotton candy at the county fair. And me, as long as you're right here. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Maxwell Ivy, known around the world as the Blind Blogger, and this is another episode of What's Your Excuse, where I bring you interviews with people who have overcome adversity or thrived in spite of difficult life circumstances, people who have struck out on their own and created a unique business, experts who have real world tested advice to help you overcome the excuses that are holding you back, and people who I just happen to find interesting or personally inspiring. You can find the podcast at theblindblogger.net. You can also ask Alexa or Google to play What's Your Excuse? And now we're even on iHeart. So you can find us pretty much anywhere you want to watch or listen and get inspired to overcome those excuses that are holding you back. Also hope you will visit my sponsor, Chip Edwards at createmyvoice.com, who will help you create a voice branding strategy to take advantage of those millions of people that are starting every day to use their voice more than their keyboards to find content. And if you're not claiming your brand through claiming an invocation name on Alexa and Google, you're missing out on a big opportunity to reach people where they are and to grow your audience, grow your passion, grow your brand. So be sure and reach out to Chip Edwards at createmyvoice.com. And for those of you who sometimes wonder what Max is up to, I'm soon to be launching a What's Your Excuse podcasting network, where I'm going to help other blind people and people with disabilities create and launch their own podcasts, or help those with existing podcasts grow their audiences and monetize them by making them part of a collective network of amazing shows from wonderful podcast hosts who happen to have a disability. So today, I'm doing something different, unusual. I'm interviewing two people at the same time. This will be my first group interview, y'all. So y'all think good thoughts for me, and I'm sure this is going to turn out great. And the reason they're on the show is because they've created a couple of movies already that help show the world what the visually impaired are capable of, especially in the area of art. Their movies, Ordinary People and Straight Off the Canvas, show visually impaired people in different ways. The first movie is showing us the ordinary tasks so you can appreciate we're just like y'all. We just happen to have to do things differently because we can't see. And then Straight Off the Canvas is about how we can appreciate art. We can create it, we can teach other people to create it, and we can appreciate it, enjoy it, and be inspired by art when we are included either through audio described tours or tactile three-dimensional presentations. So these guys are doing wonderful work. Their names are Anthony Saldana and Jason Figuera, and they met in college. They've both got interesting stories as well as the story behind the movies. And you can find them at facebook.com/straightcanvas. Other social media will be available, and any new places you can find them, I'll be adding to the show notes after this goes live. But I do think y'all are going to learn a lot from these gentlemen. So Anthony and Jason, welcome to What's Your Excuse?
Thank you for having
us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm very honored to have both of you. It's very rare that I get to have a conversation with people who are focused on disabilities, vision, the blindness community, and on doing what they can to help people understand us better, and then also trying to gain more exposure for the blind people in your stories as well as for your movies about the visually impaired.
Appreciate it.
So thank you guys.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So why don't we start by talking about what it is that makes you guys so interested in spotlighting people with disabilities? Because I know beyond these two movies, y'all are working on another one about obsessive compulsive disorder. that will feature Jason heavily in that movie. But y'all seem to have a real passion for spotlighting these groups that don't get a lot of attention otherwise.
Right. Yes, it when I graduated from Queens College, and I had gotten my first job out of college, I was kind of looking at different projects that I could do on the side to keep myself creatively fulfilled, and I started doing I started to brainstorm in my head, and I wondered how blind people perceive art. And it was really an interesting topic at the time for me. So I went to the library and I picked up a book, and that book was Ordinary Daylight, A Portrait of an Artist Going Blind by Andrew Potok. And that book really had a profound impact on my creative process. Of basically, Mr. Potok was an artist who learned that he was becoming blind, and it affected him so much that he started to do a therapy where he had bees sting his eyes because he thought that this would give him a cure. And just reading that book made me realize that I, as an artist, have a responsibility, because not many people are telling these stories on television or through film. And so I thought that I had a responsibility to go out in my community and meet blind people and do a film about what the blind community needed. And that was a film that I did 10 years ago called We're Ordinary People. And from there, once I finished that film, I decided that this was the time that we were going to be doing Straight Off the Canvas. And it was a long process. We started the pre-production in 2011, and now it's 10 years later, and the time is just right. So it was a 10-year process, but Straight Off the Canvas is ready to premiere.
Right, and it's already won some awards. It's been entered to some major film festivals, and eventually, so many people can be have their opinions changed by seeing this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Something how going to the library and getting a book about a painter. So for those people who think the libraries don't serve a purpose anymore, now you know.
They do.
They absolutely do. Yes.
Yeah. So, and for you, Jason, I know that you and Anthony have been friends since since college, and I know you have your personal struggles with OCD. But was there something specific that drew you to the project of featuring people who are blind, either in their ordinary day or in the area of art?
When Anthony first approached me with his idea, I was, I wanted to do something where it could be a project on my own terms, in terms of being independent, because I was in my master's degree program at Hofstra at the time. And I was really starting to get my creative chops going for field production work. When I was an undergrad, I had just done studio production, and I was really getting experience doing documentary production. And when Anthony proposed this idea to me, I said, this is a wonderful start for me to really get practice in this field and to make something on my own. Well, not just on my own, with Anthony, and to make something independently. And when he had first approached me with it, I said, this sounds like a wonderful idea. What do you want to call this movie? And what do you want to talk about? And I remember the first route we went was blind. I think it was our first film was about blind activists and the myths that they face. And in doing so, it gave me the challenge to get out there and to really put to use my skills to serve a community. And every time I picked up the camera or talked with Anthony about an idea, I felt like I was doing some form of community service. And it really made me feel wonderful at the time, because I was working part-time at the university. And I felt this was something, I felt very fulfilled doing this kind of work. I felt that this is something where, yes, this is something I dreamed about in undergrad school, using my talents to make an impact, a positive impact on a group of people. And what a wonderful, not only positive feeling this was, but what a wonderful way for me to practice my skills, doing camera work, assisting with pre-production, doing production work, audio, anything else. This is just a wonderful way for me to do work on the side and get more practice, so I could work on my thesis film later on.
Right. Now, you were working on your thesis at the university. Was this about the same time you were working at Sony, Anthony?
Yeah. I was busy working for Sony by day, and then doing creative projects at night. And I just, you know, at first it was just an idea, and then I met some great great friends at National Federation of the Blind. And to be honest, Jason was having such a great experience at Hofstra University that I wanted the same experience, and I wanted to get into grad school as well. And so I was going to need to produce something of high quality to get in. And so I just saw that as a great opportunity as well. And but just hearing some stories that they told, it was just really impactful.
Right. So we have two guys that are friends, both of them working at places that you would think would be using their creative energies, but both of you had to go outside of your day jobs to find something that you were truly passionate about producing.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So the Sony job that I had for about 7 years was working with, they had a museum in New York City where they taught children about the basics of media, and that was a good entry-level position, but it provided an opportunity to be able to pay my bills and go out and work on projects that I was interested in.
Yeah, I just bring it up because I think that too many people are feel unsatisfied with their, let's call it side hustle for lack of a better word, because they're still working at a day job. They feel unsuccessful. But I like what you guys are doing. It wasn't just it wasn't enough where you're working. It was paying your bills, but it wasn't supporting you emotionally. And y'all went out and found something to challenge you and to support you emotionally.
Correct.
I would also say that for my part-time job, when I was working at the university and going to school there, it was exciting. And the job I had there was great, but there was something more adventurous about going on your own and doing a film on your own terms, instead of being assigned a project by a professor or having to do this, for a job. I think it gave me a greater sense of adventure to say, this is something completely independent. I didn't need somebody assigning this to me.
Right. There was
we're going out there. Yeah.
there was a great moment.
I guess like Tom Sawyer, just going out there and having an adventure.
There was a great moment that really was a turning point for us where, spoiler alert, none of us know how to drive, and still don't know how to drive. But it's something that will happen in the future. But we went out and we traveled to interview a blind rabbi, and we got to learn about his struggle and how he, is a leader of his faith community. And he talked about his struggle with I believe it was brain cancer, and how, or it was a significant struggle that he was going through in his life, and how he learned from that experience and recovered from that experience and is a leader in his community. And it was really a great interview. And then the interview was over, and we had no transportation to get back home. So
a taxi cab company kind of ditched us.
The taxi cab was like, "Oh no, I'm not coming back to pick you guys up. No, my shift is over." So I turned to Jason and I said, "Jason, here's the camera, turn it on." He's like, "What?" I said, "Press record." He goes, "Okay." And I said, "Jason, hey, we're live in Demarest, New Jersey. We just finished a great interview, and we have no way to get back home. So we're gonna walk, and we're gonna walk all the way to the bus stop, 2 miles straight, and we're gonna film it." And basically, that just became a way to enjoy ourselves as we did a 2-mile hike.
In the middle of the suburbs.
Yeah. Now, see, the next time y'all do that, be sure and have a cell phone with you so you can live stream it, and you can get people to go to your PayPal or your Patreon page when you get one. And, you can, who knows, maybe somebody will see you on Facebook Live and they'll pick you up and take you home. That would be what I would do the next time it happens.
This was 10 years ago, but
okay.
It inspired now we're travel buddies where we just travel the country and walk.
Yeah, I have a friend
lost, basically.
Yeah. I have a friend named Joe Pardo who invited me to speak in Philadelphia one year about 4 years ago, and I got there, and due to some bad timing, I had to take a cab to Camden, New Jersey. And my friend Joey's like, "Max, it's a shame you don't have pictures of the cab driver." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you were one of the whitest people I know, asking them to take you to Camden, New Jersey about the time it was fixing to get dark." He said, "I'm surprised they took you." He said, "But I bet the expression on that cab driver's face would have been priceless." So I guess we have that in common. We don't really think about the trouble we're going to get into. We just think about the mission we're on and focus on that until something forces us to do otherwise.
No, I didn't. No, Max, I didn't anticipate the driver telling me I'm not taking you back. And I was like, "I'll pay you extra." He's like, "Bro, my shift is over.
It's not happening, man.
I'm getting high." And
yeah. But you guys just seem like y'all think about the work and don't really worry about some of this other stuff unless you have to,
We make our plans, we brace for the worst, and we hope for the best.
And sometimes
whatever happens from there, God help us.
Yeah. Now,
Jason once had us do a shoot in Atlanta, Georgia. So he wakes me up at like 8 a.m. I didn't have any breakfast. We do the interview, and then he goes, "All right, let's redo the interview." I'm like, no, I'm hungry. But that was a good really a good experience. And we went to Atlanta to shoot the International OCD conference in Atlanta one year,
where every street was Peachtree Street.
Hey, no, they have some good ribs in Atlanta. So
yes, it was worth it.
Yeah. Okay, just to remind y'all, I'm speaking with Anthony Saldana and Jason Figuera the filmmakers behind Straight Off the Canvas, and you can find them at facebook.com/straight canvas. All right, so earlier y'all mentioned how, how much fun it was to have this independent project. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about why it is that that visually impaired people and other people with disabilities aren't seen in movies or television. And then maybe you could comment a little bit on the difference between indie production like yours and commercial or corporate driven vehicles like we are used to seeing on most of our television sets.
You want to take this one first while I'm starting to...
Sure.
Yeah.
So for the portrayal of people with disabilities in mainstream media, we have seen some portrayals, but I think that for the most part, they don't really cover, they really show kind of like I would say sort of I wouldn't say coded, but it's really it's kind of like a vapid portrayal, because really, they'll say, well, oh, okay, they can overcome anything. Or like, you'll see something like Daredevil, where if they lose one sense, they automatically gain another to a superhuman extent. And that's not always the way it works. That's not reality. It's pretty much exaggerated. And what our film does is that, and the beauty of a documentary is that we can go in depth with this type of filmmaking, with this genre of filmmaking. We can sort of portray, some of the real world struggles that people with disabilities face and how they overcome those struggles in a practical setting. I think that for commercial productions, there's always an agenda, because they are commercially driven. They're driven by advertiser dollars, and they have a targeted audience that they're going to talk to. I mean, every filmmaker has a targeted audience, but mostly for commercially driven films, there's an audience that advertisers want to sell something to. And so basically they're going based on an advertiser's word, and that advertiser's word, pretty much they have the end say. If you look at mainstream television, I would say, what was it, from our last estimate, about 70% of their earnings, I think, were from advertisers. So you can kind of understand how much influence advertisers wield on commercial productions. And when we're doing an independent production like this, we are not really beholden to any advertisers. So there's really no agenda here, or, we're not really trying to sell something to the disabled community, the blind, any community we're filming. We're actually telling this story. And that's what we're giving them. And this impact that this story has, I think, is more genuine, in a way. But I'll let Anthony take it from here.
I think just in general storytelling sense in America, as well as Hollywood, everyone wants a happy ending. And in Hollywood, a lot of films and TV shows, the happy ending is healing. The happy ending is the cure. The happy ending is the ability to gain the eyesight back, or to finally overcome your disability. But that's not reality. That's like, and that's the beauty of documentary. Like, you would be doing a documentary for the rest of the person's life, and the person's, it's just not reality. But so I did speak to the National Federation of the Blind members while I was doing the production of my first film, We're Ordinary People, and I had one gentleman come up to me, and I asked him, so if I could tell the world anything about this film, I'm sorry, if I could tell the world anything about your community and what in your experience. What should I say? And he looked at me and he said, listen, when you turn off that camera and we fade and you fade to black, we're still blind, and so are the stars, so you need to respect us. And that was a conversation that I had probably 10 years ago, and it's something that I take seriously. So in terms of mainstream media, it's there, whether it's the news media, you have 5 minute block or 3 to 5 minute block to tell your story and to get the message to the audience out and to tell the news story of the day. But here, Jason and I, we've been at this straight off the canvas story for 10 years. And we had a good arc 7 years in, and then the pandemic happened while we were trying to distribute. And this television station said, hey, we love to air your project, but you have to add 10 more minutes because it's 10 minutes too short, we're not going to air it. So I was like, all right, we're gonna have to do more interviews and make the project more up to date by addressing the global pandemic and how it's affecting not only the subjects of the film, but the community that they're in and the work that they're doing.
Well, seeing how myself and many of my friends who are visually impaired are on Zoom, have you considered finishing the movie by taking advantage of the pandemic and reconnecting with some of these people again, but doing an interview over Zoom and then adding those interviews into the movie? Is that something that you've considered?
We that's something that we did for the last 10 minutes of the film, was just a Zoom interview with most of the cast. So yeah, it's a good opportunity, especially during this time, and it's adds a special touch, because I felt like the film was perfect the way it is, and then it was like, no, there's an extra layer here that we can make this more up to date.
Yeah. How does that feel when somebody who doesn't know what doesn't have the same belief in your project comes along and arbitrarily tells you have to add 10 minutes to it? How does that make you feel as a creative person?
I wasn't upset, because 10 minutes is not 20 minutes. And I felt like the film, I wasn't going to change anything to the film as it was, because I felt like the film was good at 47 minutes. But I was like, maybe we can have a 10-minute preview of another project. So we were just brainstorming and just said, all right, let's just add 10 more minutes of pandemic material. But I wasn't too fazed by it. We had hours of footage, so.
Yeah, I'm just curious because, you hear stories about actors and writers and directors who, when somebody else comes along and says, you need to cut 5 minutes or you need to add 10 minutes or you need this scene would make the movie better. You hear stories about how some of these people, they throw tantrums, they throw things, they say things to people they can't take back. So I was just curious, and I thought other people might be curious how it made you feel. So thanks for sharing. I guess that just goes into your personality as a human being, that it just really didn't bother you.
You have to adapt. You really do. It's
Yeah. Did being around the visually impaired people help you in this area of adapting? Do you think you were always very adaptable, or do you think you maybe picked up a few things from being around these blind people?
Such a good question. My goodness. Yes, and yes. So there, in 2012, I could tell you 2012 was either the best year of my life or the worst year of my life. So like I had just finished the film, We're Ordinary People, and got distributed in 2011, right? So 2012 was 2012 also the year that you were diagnosed with OCD, Jason?
Yeah, yeah, it was. So it was pretty
So
much
2012
similar for me too.
was the best
Yeah.
year of our lives and the worst, because now we were in a position where we can submit the documentary to different opportunities, right? And I was really excited about that. But then I had a traumatic injury, and that has changed my life to this day. I severely injured my back, and I also injured my neck, and it's something that I still live with to this day. And also at the same time, Jason had told me that he was experiencing OCD symptoms. So to basically, I had just started to reach out to the cast of Straight Off the Canvas, just to start these interviews. And I remember very vividly that I had an interview scheduled with our lead. Her name is Elizabeth Castellano. She's an amazing artist, ladies and gentlemen. If you can look her up, her name is Elizabeth Castellano, and I'm gonna give you her website at the end of this interview. But this is a moment that I said I would love to interview for a documentary. She was like, "Yes, let's do this. I'm gonna talk to my principal. It's gonna be amazing." And I said, "All right, let's do this." So now I had to call her up and tell her that I had hurt my back, I hurt my neck, and my best friend who could also do the project is stuck in his house with OCD symptoms. So I called her up, and she was also experiencing some issues in her life. And so the answer to your question of how did my new friends help me adapt, we all have personal situation going on, and I got to at a really dark place in my life, I got to meet someone who was also experiencing something very difficult in her life. And it was such a positive conversation, though. It was just like, look, I'm not feeling well, and I'm gonna get this done, but I really want to interview you, and I really want to tell your story. And she goes, and I want my story to be told, and I want you to tell my story. So it was such an emotional moment to be able to film Elizabeth painting, on a canvas, talking about how much painting has helped her healing in her personal life. And so it was just a therapy. The film is very therapeutic and powerful. And Jason, if you have anything else to add to that.
I would say that while I was sick, and in the darkest depths of my sickness, I remembered the people we had filmed, and I remembered people like from our first film, Ray and Romeo, and I remembered that positive relationship they had, and how we were laughing and joking with them in the park, like while we were setting up the camera, getting ready to film them, and how cool they were. And I kept saying to myself, to get better, I had to motivate myself and say, you know what? We've got more of these stories to tell. We got more people like Ray and Romeo out there to meet. And Anthony's lining up somebody else. It was Elizabeth at the time. And I said, we've got to introduce the world to those people. And we can't get it done. And I can't get it done like this. I got to try my best to get better. So in a way, they helped motivate me during therapy.
Right.
It was their personalities, their cool personalities. And I said, man, you know what? I can't let them down. I got to get better.
Well, it
So
sounds like
that's how they affected me.
Yeah, it sounds like that both of you kind of used these people and these stories and the obligation of telling their stories as motivation. Kind of like the reason I do these podcasts, because my goal here is by the end of the hour or however long it takes, that people will be saying to themselves, well, if those guys can't do it, then what's my excuse? So it's I do this to help motivate other people. And it sounds like y'all did the same from your experiences that you had with these people that were part of your films. So
Yeah, and I also think that it's really important to have a goal, to be flexible with that goal, so that you know your body, you know your mind, you know your work schedule, and you make friends and you try to help you hit those goals. But sometimes did I know that the process when I started in 2011 would get me all the way to 2021? And like, did I know it was going to take 10 years? No, but it was the whole journey was worth it to get to this moment right here to be speaking to you, Max. So the whole journey was worth it.
yeah, and now and now, is there somewhere that they can watch the movies or see parts of the movies, or where can they go to actually enjoy your films and hopefully be inspired and educated from them? How do they do that?
So one of the ways to get in touch with us, we are on Twitter. Our at handle is @straightcanvas. And so we are going to be premiering our documentary Straight Off the Canvas throughout the country. I don't have specific dates on the other stations. I do, however, have dates for CUNY television for anyone that's located in the New York City metropolitan area. All right, so I do have dates for that channel, and I'm just pulling up those dates now, if that's all right.
Okay, well, that's fine. I would just suggest that you create an announcement for your Facebook page and put the dates, channels, and times on there where people can see them when they visit your Facebook page, and at facebook.com/straight canvas. Yeah. So they, Jason and Anthony, they will work on getting a schedule up where you can see it, and hopefully I will be able to include some of the dates in the show notes of this video when we're through. So the main thing is that you guys are kind of doing this old school. This is kind of like back in the day when a movie company would make a film, and then the film would literally physically travel around the country, but being shown at theaters. Except the only difference is instead of theaters with you guys, it's television stations. But it does kind of have a vintage Hollywood sort of feel to it, if you don't mind me saying that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and we're also trying to get into some film festivals, but I wanted a grassroots approach to this film. Like, there's the film is so much about community and just enjoying the art, and we're gonna work to get it out to the world.
Right, and here, what's your excuse? We're going to do our best to help you guys make that happen, and I'm hopeful that my audience is going to support you and tell their friends to come to look for the movie on their local television affiliates or at the various film festivals around the country. And who knows, if you are part of one of these organizations that puts on a film festival, or if you work at one of the local or regional television or cable stations, reach out to me or to Anthony, and we will definitely get you in the rotation to premiere the film in your part of the country, right, guys?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
What world?
Yeah. So
world?
definitely reach out. The whole world. Yeah, that's right. The whole world. The whole world. Yeah.
International, Jason.
Yeah.
Bring
Who do
it
we
back.
call it? Yeah, who do we call at the Cannes Film Festival to get you guys on the list? You know, anybody know who we call? I find that some things I say in half seriousness turn out to be the most important things I could say. So, and I honestly believe that if you aren't willing to say it out loud, you probably aren't going to make it happen or anything close to it. So I say stuff like that from time to time, but it really is a great film. More people do need to see it. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Jason's story and the film you have coming up after this, because as I've learned as an author, when you work on people coming to see your existing film, some of that is the message that's in the current film, but some of that is to build the audience for the next film. So could we talk a little bit about Hopscotch with My Brain?
Sure. What do you want to know about it first?
well, first we've been teasing everybody about you having suffered through OCD, so maybe you could tell people a little bit, not the full story, but a little bit of your experience with obsessive compulsive disorder, and then what the movie is about, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So when I would say it was about 2012, and this is around the time that Anthony had his accident. I just graduated from Hofstra. I'd gotten my MFA in documentary, and going to Hofstra was wonderful. I had such fun. It was a great program. All of my professors were cool, and I finished, and I was getting ready to enter out into the real world, and I remember I was helping research something for a film. I was helping to get some information at a library. And so I went to put a book away, and then I started fixing it. I started saying, well, it's not at the right angle. I shouldn't leave it like that. And I spent a good 15 minutes trying to fix this dang book. I said, what is happening to me? Slowly but surely, this fixing became a problem. And when I was a child, I always had a certain way of doing things. Before I go to bed, I always had a routine. I would sleep with my Bible near me, my glasses on top of the Bible, in that fashion. If my Bible was crooked, I fixed it. If it was not 90 degrees, I had to adjust it. And so, but they were little things. They never really bothered me. They never really interfered with my life. But now, slowly but surely, these things began to creep and interfere with my life. I began to repeat things. I began to, when I was typing, if I made a spelling error in the sentence, I would backspace the whole sentence and then start typing again. And then it became a way for me to I just felt this anxiety, like I had to do it. And I was frightened, because I said, wait a minute, this is not good. I'm losing control, but I don't know what I'm losing control of. And I remember in 2012, it got really bad. And Anthony can tell you firsthand. It got to the point where I could barely get dressed. I could barely even take a shower. I couldn't do daily things. I was just in the corner of my apartment. I was living with my parents, and I was just in the corner of this apartment, not leaving it. That's it. It's like my world just shrunk, and I literally backed myself into a corner. And I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. And one day I went, yeah. Go ahead, man.
At some point during this process, he decided that he was going to have his own parents videotape him as he's in the corner. So he then it's even hard to describe unless you're there, but because you could say, "Oh, Anthony, I have OCD." Well, I love Monk. He's a little. That was a great TV show. So I have this perception of people with OCD. I'm like, okay, you have OCD. Let's hang out. I was not in the home, and I did not have access to the footage that his parents had shot, and my buddy over here was having literally what looked like mental breakdowns, just weeping because he couldn't get out of the bathroom, and so.
And he eventually had to go to the Mount Sinai Hospital, and he was lucky enough to find somebody who's an expert specializing in OCD. And so since then, he's managed to find techniques that allow him to be more like the person I imagine he wants to be. Am I following that correctly, Jason?
Yes, sir. When my parents took footage, they one of the reasons I wanted them to take footage was like, look, as a document, I got to document what's going on. I need to know what's happening to me. And one of the purposes of the footage was to hopefully show someone, and they could say, well, this is what's wrong with you. And I showed it to one of the psychiatrists at Mount Sinai, and he's like, yep, it's OCD. And he said, well, I can give you medication, and you're going to start behavioral therapy. And I had to take a week to think about it. And like I told Anthony, I don't know how it happened, where it came from, but as I was having this mental breakdown, I kept praying to God. I was like, I don't know what you want. Just help me. I know I don't know if I deserve it or not, but just help me. I don't know what's wrong. And I was even crying while praying.
Right.
And I was literally walking down the street one day, like after he had proposed behavioral therapy. And for 15 to 20 minutes at random, my anxiety just plummets, almost disappears. And I felt that was a spiritual way of being nudged. You could say by God, or you could say about whatever force you may imagine, you may think of. I would say by God for my faith, telling me to go take behavioral therapy. And I went back that following week and I said, doctor, I'm ready to take it. And I took it, and it took me about 1.5 years, but I got there.
Yeah.
And I was finally able to continue filmmaking again.
When it was interesting the schedule, because I vividly remember, like, he had just started the medication, and we have finally got our first shoot ready to begin, which was like in April of maybe 2012. April. It was either 2012 or 2013. I think it was 2012. But we were finally able to do Elizabeth's exhibition, and
that was 2013. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we went upstate.
I vividly remember Jason his effect of being on the medication that was
risperidone.
And I said, bro, are you able to do? Are you okay? He's like, I'm all right. But
I looked high.
He executed all the work. He did a great job in the shoot, but I was just like, are you okay? But he's like,
I'll be okay. It's okay, brother.
Yeah, yeah, and so I find it interesting that, you know, I tell people all the time that as a writer, when bad things happen, I write, and I've known musicians when bad things happen to them, they create some of the most amazing songs. I'm just I just think it's really appropriate that while you were going through this, you have all this footage of your experiences, your parents' experiences, your friends' responses to your experiences. I mean, not only did you come out of this better, but you came out of this with a whole dang movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It goes.
It was a lot better than I had expected.
There's a moment in the film, like I found that this film that we're creating for Jason is half drama, half, you know, it is dramatic. His experience is dramatic, and I felt like I needed to incorporate myself to just brighten up the mood at some point in the film. There's a point in the film where Jason just turns to to me behind the camera and says, I was in the shower for like 3 hours. And I said, what? How long were you in the shower? He said 3 hours.
3 hours.
And then we educate it. All of our films are educational, and I hope that, you know, these two films that are coming out, you know, and hopefully the pandemic can end so we can finally finish Hopscotch with My Brain, but they're all educational films. And, you know, Jason went through an insane journey, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And, you know, I throughout the entire process, you know, like I always felt like it was my obligation to help him heal, because he helped me with my goals to get ordinary people, you know, out there in the universe, because it wouldn't be possible without Jason's assistance.
Right. I totally understand. And once again, I'm speaking with Anthony Saldana and Jason Figuera, the people behind Ordinary People, straight off the canvas, and soon to come Hopscotch with My Brain. You can find them at facebook.com/straightcanvas. So I really, you know, I don't like to go over my time too much. So I have just really one last question I want to get into a little bit here is how did you guys get to know each other, and how much of your friendship is a part of the end product of the films that you're making?
Oh, all right.
Take it first, Anthony. You're 6 months older than me. To go first.
I mean, it's just so apparent to me that your stories as two guys is an integral part of the storytelling that happens in your movies, and I just want people to know who you guys are and how y'all got to know each other and become such great friends.
Sure. I met this guy in Queens College. It was his freshman year, and it was my sophomore.
But I didn't look like a freshman.
He didn't look like a freshman at all. He, I guess he hadn't had a haircut in about a year, and
Nope.
I assumed that this was a retired man taking a college class, auditing our class. And I was like, all right, cool. I had no idea he was younger than me, and you know, basically, we didn't talk during that class. Up until the final exam, I saw him in a cafeteria. I stopped him. I was like, I procrastinated and I needed help with my exam. And I left my bag with him with my book, and I went to get my, you know, something to drink. I'm like, you want anything? He's like, no, I'm okay. And I said, are you sure you're gonna help me? And for me, that's a big deal. That was a big deal, a big moment of trust for me, because I grew up in schools where I'd be reading a book, I'd turn around to drink my milk, and I'd turn around and the book was gone. So for me to leave my bag with Jason, and I didn't even know him, was a big moment of trust. And I said, oh man, he probably think I'm gonna cheat off of him. And
I did honestly think you were going to cheat off of me.
but no. So we both took the test. I don't know about Jason, but I got an A on the class. And randomly I bumped into him about a year later on campus, and we just started talking, and it just turned out that we had the same interests comedically. Like, we watched the same TV shows, and we had the same, like, we both wanted to take media studies classes. He said, well, what are you taking next semester? And I said, I'm taking screenwriting. He said, you're not waiting for me to take screenwriting? I said, hell no, I'm not waiting for you. I want to write some great stories. And so we didn't really do many projects together in college, because I was always taking classes like a semester ahead of him. But we really got to bond as I was an executive at the Catholic Newman Center at Queens College, and I needed help because my other executive boards basically put their name on a piece of paper and walked away, and I was the only one taking responsibility for the club. And I said, Jason, you're Catholic, right? And he said, yeah. I'm like, all right, I need your help. And
we have some hot members. We have some hot female members. Oh, really? Okay.
I convinced him with our hot female members. And for 3.5 years, we worked together to create events and keep the Catholic Newman Center alive on campus. And so that's basically how we got to know each other, by doing these Catholic events. And I'm happy that if anything, Queens College in New York City still has a place to go to for Catholic members on the campus. And hopefully once the pandemic closes and the campus reopens for students, that they'll still be able to have this center for the Catholic students. So that's really how we got to know each other in college. And from there, we'd have these great conversations about our filmmaking career, and it's just our careers have paralleled along the way. So the second part of your question was, how has our friendship affected the film, right?
Right, yeah. How does it play into the filmmaking? Yeah.
I don't need to talk to Jason about what shot needs to be done or what we want, because we've worked together so long that we don't need to, we just need to look at each other and we know what we want. And so we definitely have a language on set when we're working. Like, I don't question him. Like, we make a decision and the decision's final and we move forward. We're concise, we're consistent, and we're cost effective. And we don't argue very much. And if Jason has an idea that I like, I run with it and we make it happen, and we make it happen fast. So, you'll see there's so many moments in each of the film that was just a collaboration between these two minds, and just like of writing, just the spine. Jason's really great at creating the spine of a documentary and how a documentary should flow because of his MFA that he got. So it's always entertaining, to then bring our chemistry in front of the camera for a hopscotch with my brain, which you get to see the two of us just joking on each other about how his bald spot over there. So
yeah. And Jason, you got any comments on anything he left out about how y'all get to know each other, or how it affects y'all's ability to create these documentaries?
Well, to be fair, he wasn't lying about those girls. So, I mean, I don't have to hold anything against him for it. Honestly, when we had first met, I was very shy about doing production, and he was always a go-getter and getting it done. So when I finally took production, I was going based off of his experiences that he would relate to me. And when I went in, I would say, okay, I kind of know what to expect in these production classes. And I think it was his love of production that got me interested in doing media production. Had I not met Anthony, honestly, I probably wouldn't have taken that many production classes, and it probably would have harmed me even more later on. You know, I've really gained an improvement in my technical skills because I had always said, you know, wow, he's having such a blast in these classes. It's time to start getting out of my shell and meet some people who are going to to these classes and having some experiences of my own. And so in a way, it's motivated me to continue pursuing production as part of my career. So it's the only thing I would really add.
He goes, Jason goes, you know, when I go get my grad school, you know, when I'm gonna do a game show. That would be cool. I said, Jason, you know, you could do a game show right here on this campus by taking this class at this time next semester. What is wrong with you? He's like, oh, all right.
Yeah, I didn't know. Thanks for telling me. I laid the idea out there.
Yeah. So did you ever create a game show?
No. I think the game show was too boring. I needed to come up with something better. Thank God, honestly, I didn't come up with it.
He was gonna do a game show on the elevator. It would have been great.
Oh yeah, an elevator game show. Yeah, I remember. That would have kind of been fun.
Have you ever seen Pitfall?
Oh no.
No, I haven't actually.
Alex Trebek referred to it as his only failure because he never got paid for it. The contestants would stand on these pedestals that would raise and lower based on how much money you were winning or losing. And if you played really badly, your pedestal would even drop below the level of the cameras. Some people would end up off screen because they did so poorly. It was called Pitfall.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
It wasn't in an elevator, but it was close.
Tell me about your book. You said you wrote a book. Is that on Amazon?
Yeah, that was actually going to be our next question, man. I don't know how you figured that out. No.
We stumbled onto something.
No. Now here's the thing. I am known in my podcast. My audience knows that I quite often ask questions just for Max. Okay, this is my thing.
Flashcard just for Max. Let's do this.
Yeah. So I was planning on asking you guys, hey. I did this book about my trip to New York City in 2016. I was one of the Amtrak writers in residence. Those people who are tired of hearing me talk about Amtrak writer in residence, y'all can pause now. I went to New York City by myself during the Christmas and New Year's holidays of 2016, 2017, and I tried to find people to help me turn that experience into a documentary. The book is called The Blind Bloggers, New York City Adventures, How You Can Make Your Dreams Come True. It includes about 60 pictures that were taken by random strangers that I met during the course of my travels in NYC. And I thought at the time the story would have made a hell of a documentary. I still think it would. And so I have two questions. One, can a documentary be filmed after the fact? Can you cast people to play the people in the documentary and reshoot it later? Is that something that's possible? Or is a documentary something that has to be done in the moment, or it can't be done?
It can still be done after the fact. The History Channel does it all the time.
Yeah, but those people aren't alive. You know, they aren't available.
You have reenactments.
Yeah, that's true.
Animation is coming up in documentary as well.
Yeah, animation can be used too.
If you have like the photographs. Yeah, it could be redone after the fact.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then the follow-up question to that is, does my story sound compelling? Because I've I actually pitched it to a contest last year for people seeking screenwriters, and their response was, Mr. Ivey, your story probably interests people who already know you, but we can't see this compelling anybody to spend money to watch it that doesn't already know you.
Who have you met? Who did you meet during your New York City trip?
I didn't meet anybody famous other than Ryan Badolf. He's only famous in the online community.
Okay.
But
who else did you get to meet? Like, they don't have to be celebrities,
right?
To be interesting.
No, that's the thing. I didn't meet anybody famous or celebrities. I met cab drivers, the people at the name of the theater is escaping me now. I wish I didn't have that kind of money. I went to see Wicked, if that helps you. The guy who wrote music.
Lin-Manuel.
No. The old guy from back in the 20s and 30s. The name, I can't think of the name of the theater now. I went to see Wicked. Yeah, he wrote a lot of Gershwin Theater.
Okay,
Gershwin.
Yeah.
That's where I used to work.
But I met the Secret Service people at Trump Tower. I met the jewelry ambassador at Tiffany's. I spent time with the skate guards at Rockefeller Center. I didn't meet any really famous people, but I met a lot of people, and there were a lot of photos taken. Yeah, I'm not hearing a lot of enthusiasm here. So guys, so thank you very much.
No, it's not that. It's I have a question. When you went to New York, what was your overall impression of New York City?
I thought some of it was better than I expected, but for some reason, I didn't feel it to be as crowded as I expected it to be. It was as noisy as the energy was definitely there, but okay, look, I went there with no real winter clothes, so I'm having to find me a coat, a hoodie, some gloves. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We end up at Macy's in Times Square on Christmas Eve, and we have the whole sidewalk to ourselves.
Oh, okay.
We have the whole sidewalk to ourselves. It's like, where are all the people? I mean, I should be having my head slapped around for going shopping on Christmas Eve anywhere.
Right.
In my household on Black Friday and Christmas Eve, we stay at home and watch the craziness on TV.
Right.
But I just felt like there were certain times where the noise level and the crowds weren't what I expected them to be as far as just volume. And then there were other times, and there were other times it was great. Like there's one time at the main subway terminal there. I was trying to get a subway, and like 2 or 3 trains came in at the same time, and there was so much noise I literally could not hear anything. It was like I was deaf and blind because of all the noise overload. But yeah, there's a lot of detail of the book, and what I was thinking and feeling during many different things that happened.
Right.
And some things people may think, hey, he didn't go as far as he should have gone. Like when I decided that I wasn't going to go watch the ball drop in person, some people may think, he chickened out, he copped out, But and I also think some people may feel like I didn't do enough with my time in New York, but I feel very good about my experience.
Good.
I'm very happy with the book. And the one thing I love about the book is it's one of those books that when you see it in person, when you hold it in your hand, it's much more visually impressive than when you read it online. It's 300 pages, 60 of those are images. The images are in black and white because of the printing costs of doing color in a print book. But I'm really happy with that book, and so far that book is still doing better than my latest book. But so I figured I would ask you about it. The other thing I wanted to ask you guys about is, it seems to me that if a blind person is trying to film a movie as the main subject of the movie, one of the challenges you would have would be not letting the other people around that blind person know that you're filming, because then they would tend to think, well, if something happens, those guys will take care of it.
Right.
So just, have you guys ever considered, just the difficulties of filming a blind person, let's say out in the wild, for lack of a better way of saying it?
Well, usually when you go on production, even, for people who, it's normal to have a crew, even if it's just one other person helping you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can do it by yourself, but it's always normal to have a crew. And it's not just camera work that's involved. You have audio too, and you have editing. And there are so many other digital, and there's so many other things too, like pre-production research, researching people, talking to your subjects, interviewing your subjects, coming up with questions, structuring your story. So being a blind filmmaker is absolutely possible.
Yes.
Especially in this day and age, it is absolutely possible. I think once you have a crew, because it's normal for filmmakers to have more than one person help them, even on an interview.
What I'm saying is how do you include a crew without having it affect the storytelling? I was wanting you to speak to any of how you would see the challenges of that, especially as it relates to the main subject of the story being a blind person. That's and especially with me, because a lot of my story is the fact that I'm usually doing this while not always by myself, because I tend to attract the help of people along the way. That usually it's just me out there. So that I just want you guys to speak to how do you do the filming without letting everybody else know that you're making a movie here?
Oh no, so like Jason said, we do the pre-production. So there was we were really honored to have Lavelle School for the Blind participate in the documentary, and we filmed their art exhibition, and there were eyewitness news from Channel 7 here in New York City came to also cover the event. And so it's like it's like the real world, you're trying to cover, and only certain students have the parental guide, contract that you can film them. So you
Permission.
have like parents saying, okay, you can't film my child that's right there. And I said, all right, that's cool. Well, I'm filming this child over here. So and I respect your decision not to have your child on camera. That's your prerogative. Like, so it's just,
What do you do you think the whole idea of filming somebody is easier nowadays because so many people have cameras on their phones, and that really it doesn't, you don't stand out as much as you would have 5 years ago if you are filming somebody in a public setting?
I think when approaching people we would like to film, I think that in some way it's a little easier, but it also makes it harder because they know the negative consequences of going on camera, that they've seen it happens. People look bad sometimes, right. Especially when they're on camera, and they're afraid, oh my God, how am I going to look like on camera? How am I going to come across? Is that what I sound like? Like, you do have these issues, but I think what happens is when we talk to our subjects, we let them know straight up what we're trying to do. And this comes back to the point of having our story, condensing the point of our story into one declarative sentence, one simple to understand sentence. When we talk about, for example, Straight Off the Canvas, the point of that movie in one sentence is that art is not just a visual medium, to be enjoyed. It's beyond just visual. That's it. It's one simple sentence. So the fact is that when you're approaching subjects, you also have to have an idea of their background. You have to have researched them beforehand. We just don't call people out of the blue. We have to see what they're about, what they care about, what their interests are, and say, this is how this film aligns with their mission, their interests, so that, they know what they're getting themselves into.
Right.
This is not just some TMZ hit piece,
Right.
We are letting you know up front what this is all about.
I have a lot of friends who are actors, because I work with actors in my spare time, and an actor asked me a question yesterday because she knew my experience and said, hey, should I use an iPhone for this shoot? As I said to her, it depends on the look and the feel that you're trying to give your audience. If you want it to be like a TikTok video or like a really short like video for web, it's a beautiful camera and it does have a beautiful video, but I would never use it on my films. Just because that's not how we were trained. Like the both of us have 10 plus years of shooting with, media, equipment. And in terms of does it make it harder? Like Jason said, we do the homework, and we're just open to meeting people for our projects, and I don't think that the multimedia of YouTube and TikTok and all those videos that's a whole different like category of, that's not what we're doing.
Right.
It's a good marketing tool though. That's for sure.
All righty. Okay, I've been having a great conversation here with Anthony Saldana and Jason Figuera. And so what I'd like you guys to do, you can find them at facebook.com/straightcanvas or Twitter @straightcanvas. So what I'd like each of you to do before we finish here is to share one thing that you learned from maybe one thing if you haven't already shared that you learned from your experiences working with the visually impaired, and then just something that you could share that would help people out here who are creative entrepreneurs, something that you can give them in the form of advice to help them take the action that they need to do to publish their book, release their album, get their movie out into the world. So one thing you learned and one thing you can share with our audience to help them move forward.
One thing that I learned is that sometimes in life, some people are going to tell you no, and it's not the end of your journey, and you can it just means that you have to fine tune what your project is to get it down to that one sentence that Jason said, and to try to work with different members of the community that you're trying to highlight to get a yes. And sometimes that yes takes years. What I learned really is that so many individuals throughout this country have been working to get museums to be accessible for all Americans, including disabled. And now that it's time to distribute, there's a woman that reached out to me from Denmark, and she said, your film looks really powerful. We're really trying to get audio description here in Denmark and hopefully your film will be able to help us, and that is really powerful. In terms of advice I'd give for, other creative people, as I said before, sometimes when you hear the word no, that doesn't mean that you should stop your project. You just need to, sometimes it's fine tuning it, or looking to find the right person that will help you. And you just have to write down your goal and keep visualizing the goal and trying to make it happen, because that's something that I wrote down in 2011, and here I am 10 years later, marketing, here with you, Max, talking about straight off the canvas, and I'm really excited about that, and I hope that whoever is listening to this will be able to watch our film, no matter where they're from.
Alrighty, and Jason?
Well, I'd say one of the things I've learned is that blind people are ordinary people too. They are people. They have personalities, likes, dislikes, hopes, fears. When I first encountered this project, I had to realize that some of the stuff I saw in media were just archetypes. And when I got to really know them as people, I could see them as people when I met them face to face. It was kind of like a anthropological mission in a way, like to see someone in real life. Oh, okay. And really appreciate their personalities. And any advice I can give to someone out there who is trying to get their piece distributed, I would say is, when you look at criticism, there's always somebody who's not going to like your work. There's going to be people who can give you constructive criticism. They like it, but they want certain things. There are certain things that need to be fixed. And then there are going to be people who absolutely love your work. And you really need to listen to the people who give you constructive criticism and the people who are supporting your work. For people who don't like it, okay, that's fine. They may not like it. That's cool. But don't give up along the path. I would say you have, as one of my professors put it, you got to have that fire in your belly to tell that story. And it's that story that is your guiding compass to, basically get out there. Remember that this is communication. Essentially, you're trying to communicate an idea to people first and foremost. And that's your most important thing, is to focus on that idea and what avenues I can take to distribute it or to get it produced. If you haven't produced it as yet, there's a way to do it. If you didn't go to college for filmmaking, LinkedIn Learning and Skillshare and other websites have provided wonderful videos that will teach you how to do filmmaking. And, whatever spare time you have, you can use it to develop this and start it out as a hobby. And it's happened where some people have just started it as a hobby and now they can't stop doing it. They become professionals at it. So I would say, if you have extra time and this is what you want to do, use it constructively to help build your idea and to get it out there. This is honestly the best piece of advice I can give to your audience today.
All right. Well, thank you, Jason, and thank you, Anthony. I really appreciate y'all spending some time with me and sharing your experiences with the people here in the What's Your Excuse audience. Looking forward to many of them getting to see and appreciate your film and to learn more about the visually impaired and about obsessive compulsive disorder when the next film comes out. So thank you, gentlemen, for being part of What's Your Excuse.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. What's your excuse, guys? Get to work. Get to work, everybody.
There is no excuse.
There's no excuse. We're in a pandemic. You got all the time in the world. Take care of your kids and then do your art.
Okay. I really enjoyed my conversation with Anthony and Jason. It was a great experience. I think I learned something. And who knows, maybe the next time I travel and need some filmmakers, they can hook me up and we can make a documentary, or maybe they'll help me with my podcast. But let's think about some of the things we learned from them. One is that you have to listen to your body and your mind. In Jason's case, it was a back and neck injury, and Anthony's case, it was back and neck injury. In Jason's case, it was the OCD. But you just have to take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. And then once you are in a place of good health, then you can continue going after the goals and dreams that you've set for yourself. And in some cases, like creative people like me and Jason and Anthony, you can even use those setbacks as fuel for your goal or as part of the creative product. You know, turn them into the next great song, turn them into a movie, or, you know, put them out there in the world in a podcast like I do. So I think it's important to really be mindful of your body and take care of yourself, and don't let your work, for all the many things that pull at your time, cause you to endanger your health. I know it's always great to find those spare minutes in the evening or even late at night when you work on your hustle, but we don't ever want to do that to the point that we lose sleep, fail to eat properly, miss out on exercise or on rest and play. So I think it's a great reminder for both of these guys that they had some setbacks. As soon as they were right with themselves physically and mentally and emotionally, they continued, and now they have this amazing movie to share with the world. And I'm looking forward to doing my part to help more people know about it and watch it and enjoy it. We learned a great reminder about the power of friendship and how most of the important things in life aren't meant to be done by ourselves. And when you get to work with your wife, your friend, your college roommate, these people who know you better than you know yourself, that just makes it all the more joyful when you succeed and accomplish those goals. So friendship's very important, not trying to do it ourselves. At least that's something I got. And then also that while working at jobs that pay the bills or attending college to prepare ourselves for that next step in our lives, that quite often we have to go outside those opportunities and create something that's just for us, something that brings us joy, that fulfills our energies, our creative passions. And that could be a sport, a form of entertainment, a club, a hobby, or it could be a business. So be sure and make sure that you are feeding your emotional needs and that you have something beyond just paying the bills that helps you get up every morning. Again, I really enjoyed having them on the show. You can find them at facebook.com/straightcanvas or twitter.com/straightcanvas. And do hope you will check them out and watch the movie when it's available on a network where you live. Also, please check out createmyvoice.com. Reach out to Chip Edwards to create a voice branding strategy. Take advantage of Alexa, Google, Siri, the wearables, the watches, all these different places where people can get your content, and also places where you need to be in order to control your content. Make sure that when people go to the blind bloggers, say on Alexa or Google, they're not going to get content from somebody else. So I do hope you reach out to Chip at createmyvoice.com. And you can find me again at theblindblogger.net or whatsyourexcuseshow.com, or you can ask Alexa and Google to play What's Your Excuse? I'm currently offering a program. It's called 8 Weeks to Being a Rockstar Guest. You can go to theblindblogger.net/8 weeks. That's the number 8 weeks, and check it out. Basically, I'm going to prepare you to be a great, amazing podcast guest. I'll interview you for my show, What's Your Excuse? I'll book you on some other shows, mentor you throughout the process, let you know how you're doing as each show is recorded. And then if at the end of the class you decide you want me to do the outreach and get you booked on more shows, I can definitely do that as well. I provide social media promotion for all bookings, whether it's part of the class or part of an actual publicity package. And please feel free to visit theblindblogger.net. Send me an email on the contact form, if nothing else. I do hope to hear from you soon. For those who have been continually supporting me and the podcast, thanks for your love and support. Without you, I couldn't do this. Knowing that y'all are watching, listening, expecting, and that you'll be disappointed if I don't create new content and have new amazing guests with wonderful stories to tell. So thank you, because I worry about disappointing you. And as long as I'm worried about disappointing you, I'll keep doing what I do. Again, theblindblogger.net. Thank you for checking out another episode of What's Your Excuse? Too many times we stand aside and let the waters slip away. To what we put off to tomorrow has finally come today. So don't stand upon the shoreline and say you're satisfied. Choose to chance the rapids and dare to dance the tide.